Thank you for tuning in for episode 3 of the MC Mechanics podcast, recorded on August 30th, 2022. All right, thanks for tuning in for our third episode of MC Mechanics podcast. I'm Jedz, and I'm here with Jon. And,
I'm Jon.
You're Johnny. Triple John. So, we kind of had what we would consider a bye week, and then delay of rain, but rain being, the tears of my 6-month-old child not letting me get out. So we're a little behind on scheduling, but that's all good. So
Father of the year.
Huh?
Father of the year.
Oh, yeah, sure. Don't. My wife might have to say something different about that, but we'll see. So, what's going on today, Johnny?
Not much. Still tiling like a madman.
Yep.
That's about it. Yeah.
Tiling like a madman.
Yeah. This phone's ringing like crazy with people wanting me to do stuff, and I just can't get to it. So, just a one-man show.
Hey, if the tiling job's paying well, then keep tiling. Yeah. That's what I would do.
Right.
Nice.
I did have a lady say, this really needs to be done because my 2-year-old's starting to crawl and walk around, and I'm really concerned. Like I was going to drop everything because she can't put up a baby gate in her kitchen.
Right.
I thought that was interesting.
Right. Isn't that the new way of parenting, right? You try to you delegate your parenting tasks to other people by asking them to work harder or do things differently.
Yeah. I did have the idea the other day, it'd be cool to have a podcast or whatever with 2 or 3 other remodeling guys and say, we can only talk about clients that were more than a year old. So you don't have anything current, to offend anybody, but just kind of like opposite of Angie's list, just discuss Mrs. Jones was a nightmare. Mr. Jones threw me out of the house, whatever.
Right. I
think it'd be interesting.
Yeah. Mr. Smith gave me a generous tip after the job, and everyone's trying to get Mr. Smith. That's actually a good idea.
I did have one client, really good couple, nice couple or whatever. She would make a to-do list in the morning. He would be there when I got there to answer questions. And at the end, the list was all scratched up. And he says, Jon, this is a punch-out list. You're not on a to-do list anymore. You're done. Because he just got tired of his wife kept continuing to put stuff on the list. It's like, no, you're done.
You're done. I can't afford you anymore.
So that was the closest I got to being thrown out. So.
Yep. I've had a couple of those on the motorcycle front too. It's just like you like the list, you like to do the work for them, but then the list gets bigger, and then the text gets longer and longer, and it's like, can you do this, and this? Yeah. It's just like, I'll try.
It's just like with you. I'm sure they'll say, "Oh, why you got your tools out when you do this?" And I get all the time, "Oh, why you have mud in the pan? Oh, why you got a screwdriver?"
Right.
It's a hassle to go do it again. Will you come down here and do this? Like they're getting something extra for the job. It's interesting.
Right. It's only going to be an extra 30 minutes. Like they know, right?
That's right.
They always seem to know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So what's up with your shirt?
Oh, it's one of my favorite YouTubers, Scott Brown Carpentry down in New Zealand.
Oh, nice.
And he just does, he calls himself a builder. We would call it as a carpenter up here. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny because they have different slang for stuff rather than cutting a dado on a board. They call it a rebate. And rather than putting in shims, they call them packers.
Interesting.
And, and he builds dicking material, which we all crack up about. Instead of decks, he calls it dicking. So, but he's a great guy, and his wife's in it. And they moved southern part of New Zealand and started remodeling their house until they build up new clientele. So I don't know. When your wife enjoys it too, when you're watching YouTube, it must be pretty good.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
So
that's true. There's certain things that you like and you enjoy because your wife can tolerate them as well.
Yeah.
So
there's one couple we watch, Mountain Off Grid, I think it's called, or something. And it's a nice couple, and she works her butt off on there. And she's almost as strong as her husband. But the amount of stuff they get done, that it's probably, edited over a week and a half, but they make it look like they get it done in 2 days.
Yeah.
And, they build half a house, and Deb and I are watching it. And I just said, I hung 2 lights and a couple pieces of wood today. It's like you're embarrassed when you see how much this lady can get done, in her cowboy boots. So
I think I've seen something similar to that. It's like they there's like a couple and they live like in middle of nowhere, Maine or something. And they build shelters out of like anything, And she built her own little like getaway shelter. It's like a little tiny triangle A-frame thing,
It might be bushcraft, and the other one is called Girl in the Woods.
Girl in the Woods. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're pretty interesting. I've watched them a little bit. So it's inspiring to see what people can do with basic hand tools.
Right.
I'm trying to convince my wife I need the latest, greatest saw. And she sees a handsaw. It's like,
meanwhile, they're hand lathing, post and beam structure.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, man. So did you do anything exciting motorcycle wise since the last time I saw you?
Well, I thought you canceled tonight, so I was all ready to do my, very important 30-mile loop, and I decided not to. But I rode the triple the other night, and I can't get it to go to neutral like at a stoplight. So I adjusted the cable out on the clutch, and I think I went about 2 miles, and I got the same slack back in the cable as I did before, and I went, oh no, my cable's breaking. So I went to the destination where I was going, and then came back, and it's not a big deal. It's just a pain. So I adjusted in the side of the engine last night, the corkscrew thing or whatever, and I haven't had a chance to try it yet. But I put a clutch in it, when I got the bike, so I'm hoping there's nothing going on inside.
That's the 850, right?
Yeah. So it's got a new cable. So
So you're not like noticing clutch slip at all. It's just the cable, the friction zones just changing on you.
Right. But with the way I ride, it's hard to slip a clutch anyways.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, how old's that cable? Let's is that the stock cable?
No, I think I replaced it.
Oh, okay.
Because I got on the SR650 last year, and every time I pulled in a clutch, I heard a ting. I thought, wow, what that is? World. And it happened about 3 times in a row. I thought, that's weird. I pulled it the next time. It was the final cable, and it broke. So apparently each time.
It's like a guitar string. Ding,
yeah. And it was covered up. I never looked at it, You get 5 minutes to ride.
You don't realize it till it happens. Then you're like buying a pair of vice grips to have a clutch. I've done that before. Maybe
I'll search out YouTube for a motorcycle mechanic video to know what to do. So we'll see.
Yeah, right. That's weird though. It's like you pull it and then might just be the cables getting toast.
The other thing I got to thinking about today, and I asked some people when I first moved here if non-ethanol fuel was anywhere around, and people looked at me like I had 2 heads. And nobody really advertises ethanol free here. So I think he said there was a company called Casey's or whatever that's in southern Indiana that I could get gas. And I'm like, yeah, I'll run over my van at 10 miles to the gallon and get 10 gallons in gas cans so that I can save my motorcycle. It cost me $20 to go over and get it.
Right.
But
right.
I talked to a couple guys locally, and they just like, well, you just drain the carbs. You just don't let the ethanol sit in there. It's kind of a pain, when you get back to let it sit there and idle and for 15 minutes, wait for the bowls to drain. Because you don't want to smell the house up with gas by draining it.
Yep.
I put some treatment in, but I don't remember that every time. So stabilizer.
Yeah, I put the stable in maybe, when I remember. And sometimes what will remind me is the bike will start to like stumble and have issues. I'm like, oh, snap. I forgot the marine formula stable, and I'll just throw it in the next tank, and it seems to help it out.
Yeah.
But, the best thing to do is for seasoning, for wintertime, because we are coming into wintertime and people are going to, at least here in Vermont, they're going to put their bikes down, is make sure you put marine formula stable, heavy dose, 2 ounce, I do, in a tank, and then just run the carbs dry. And then
I'll have to do that here in about 4 months for a 2-week period.
Yeah, for your 2 weeks of winter. Mm-hmm.
But what's funny is I don't think I rode this year any sooner than I did Vermont. And I think Bob rode before I did. So I was kind of embarrassed.
Yeah. Well, you're probably riding more than me these days. So just think about that.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know. The 850 just doesn't seem like it wheelies the same with that non-ethanol fuel in there.
Right. Because those old bikes, they just love straight 100% true dyno juice.
That's right. That's right.
Yep, they actually do. I remember when I had my GS 750 and I got ethanol free just because I happened to be at an ethanol free station, and the bike ran noticeably better with ethanol free in it.
Right.
So I was like, oh, try to get that.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess if I just took cans with me, if I went to a certain place that had it, just take care of it all at the same time. But,
if it's in Indiana, it's not worth the drive.
Well, I'm 5 miles from Indiana.
Oh,
so we're in the tri-state area. So,
yeah, I guess you are.
Yeah, but I have no idea where it is. But there was another place south of us, about 30 minutes, that had it, and there's a reuse zone down there that we go for building material. That I forgot the last 2 times, but I should probably do that.
Yeah.
I heard a couple of guys say that they claim that it's ethanol free, and when you get there and ask, there's no stickers, and people say, I don't know, and they kind of get upset when you ask. So I'm not sure what to do. So.
You could always do one of those gravity tests at the pump.
Yeah.
And see if there's ethanol in it or not.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, we were down to 345 here.
Oh, geez. Down
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, that's right. Man, I was excited.
I think I was like 419.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
Yeah, the
crazy.
most fuel efficient thing I've got right now is the Bonneville. It's been getting about 55, 60 miles a gallon. So I try to ride that on the days that I don't need the car or have to pick up a kid, which is very rare. So,
yeah,
once a month.
Yeah. The monkey bike doesn't get better than that.
Oh, the monkey probably gets about 60 to 70 with the CBR engine, but it's a 1 gallon tank. So I'm getting gas every day, and that's annoying.
Yeah, I bet.
So I don't take it very often. And
do you work on anything this week?
This week, I cleaned my shop finally.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I got rid of a bunch of things. It's funny because I go through it and I have all these projects and I get so ambitious about, and I gotta have this bike, or I gotta have this project. And then I never get to it because I'm just so busy. So I think moving forward, I'm just going to prioritize what I actually have time for. But yeah, I worked on my shop, which is nice because it's, winter is like 3 weeks away. Basically, we're going to start seeing temps drop down and people are going to start moving into the homes and stuff. So just trying to get my shop set. And then, that was my project. Other than that, I got the Gold Wing inspected by the state of Vermont, which is good. It passed. I didn't know if it was going to make it because sometimes it does really wonky things, like the directional indicator doesn't always work, and it worked, thankfully. And the tires, I have a rear tire on there that's several years old, and I was like, see if it passes, I'll run it, and it passed, so I'm going to run it. And but yeah, took that to CycleWise in New Haven, the Ducati / Triumph dealer there. And that's about all I've really done. I've worked on my friend Kim's new Bonneville. She needs me to do some work again. She's got come up to the 600-mile service, and she wants me to do all the services on the Bonneville. So that's pretty cool. And so that's happening hopefully sometime soon.
Does that service include a 100-mile loop around the house
through
the mountains to
right.
test everything out?
It's funny. It's a cute little bike. It's a little T100, 900cc twin. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really ridden it. I put crash bars on it, and she wants me to do the engine the service, and then I'll have it set up in my my phone. I have Tune ECU on my phone, which is like the software that interacts with the Triumph software, and I can add up to like 5 bikes until I become a professional, and I have to get the professional software.
I got a guy that can put a video out to prove that. You need that.
Yeah, I know. That's right. Between the two of us, we are truly professional motorcycle mechanics.
No, I have an outside guy that'll say you're also a professional.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can put in a word for you.
Oh, geez. Do I know this guy?
No.
Okay.
No. Wow. Is there a big difference between the 1200 and the 900?
Power wise, yes. So I think it's like 50 horse on the 900 and 80 horse on the 1200. The 1200 has a 6-speed. The 900 has a 5-speed. Some of the creature comforts aren't there. I don't think it has like a center stand or ABS. No, it has ABS. It has like a single brake in the front. It's just like kind of like the economy version.
Oh, wow.
It's a pretty bike. Like the paint job's really nice and everything. Yeah. I don't know. It's different. It's a different type of machine, really. The 900 is just a smaller bike. I'd probably put it comparable to like a 650 GS versus a 1000. Right?
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like they look the same, like, oh, it's 4-cylinder, but they're really not the same. So it's just, right. And it's smaller too. When I did the engine guards on it, I was like, I know what I'm doing. I can blast through these no problem. And I go and put the engine guards on. I'm like, man, this frame is smaller. Like there's definitely less room to work on stuff. Like the engine dimensionally is the same. Like you can swap a 1200 and you could probably put a 1200 in a 900, which would probably be a pretty cool bike because it's a smaller frame.
Future episode of Jedz. Future episode of Jedz.
Right. Jedz shoehorns a 1200 into
That's right.
An old street twin or whatever.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So, do you see my background? Oh, I don't even know how to do that. My background here is Piedmont Circle, where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And the airport bought all the property, when we grew up and went to school. But
right.
I always used to say that was where I got my start of riding a bicycle all the way around the circle, riding a motorcycle around the circle the first time. Then I had a go-kart, and it was gravel, and it was the first time I power slid the go-kart all the way around the circle. It was just a great destination.
Look at that thing. It's like, it's kind of desolate. Like, was that like the driveway, your driveway in the back?
Well, the top was one road.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me get. Yeah. So I would have been. Our house would have been right in this area.
Okay.
Last house on the left. There was about 10 houses back there, and the airport expanding came and bought them all and leveled them. But it's kind of funny. They still mowed the grass like somebody lived there, but yet there was no foundation or anything there. But it's where I was born and raised, and had great neighbors and went to school with them and stuff. And we all rode motorcycles in the neighborhood and played baseball and different things.
So it was a full on cul-de-sac then.
Yeah. I mean, there was one house, on the opposite side of it. There was one house that came in later in the late 70s or whatever. But there was fields and dirt roads back up in the area where we used to ride. But it was also a place for people to either leave junk cars or steal cars and leave them in the middle of the woods. So when you'd go ride, you'd see some sedan back there. And as kids, we're like, well, let's check it out before we tell the police.
Right. You never know what you might find.
Yeah. And being a kid with a BB gun, it was always fun to go shoot old cars up, stuff like that.
Right.
I always wanted to have a shop someday and call it Piedmont Circle Cycles, because all my work was right there in the backyard in the dirt and the grass from racing over the years and stuff. So I put that up as for a picture for my son to do some kind of design, artwork or whatever someday, but we'll see how that goes.
So you were living there when you were like started racing and building your bikes.
I was born there and then moved away when I was, 20 years old or whatever. And then mom and dad sold the place to the airport, I think, when I was about 30 years old, something like that. I can't remember. I don't know, about 28, something like that. But it was weird seeing it gone, all the neighbors' houses gone and stuff. It's kind of sad. But the road's still there. You can still go back and make a loop around and try and point where everything's at.
Really?
Yeah.
So the airport lets you in?
Yeah. Right. There's still one house at the top of the road. We can't believe they're still there, but they are.
So tell me about this bike.
Well, that would have been.
And for those that can't see video, that we're looking at what looks to be a 70s Suzuki 125 dirt bike.
Yeah, it's a 73 or 74 TM 125. So I had several bikes in the backyard, but that would have been the frame. These are just, images off the net to be able to say what it was. But that would have been the basic bike that I put the 185 engine in and raced. But when you go to the next, if you can remember the forks and the shocks and the fenders, and then go to the next one. And then somebody gave me a TS50. I think it was called the Gaucho when I looked it up. But
the Gaucho? What kind of name is that?
I don't know. They had really weird names.
It sounds like the Gout.
The Savage and all kinds of stuff. But that's off the internet. That's not mine. But that's a 50cc that I think I read they had 5 horsepower. And so that had 14-inch wheels, I think, 16-inch wheels. And that was in my backyard. And then if you go to the next one, that little Suzuki Trail Hopper, it was called, it was in competition with like the Z50. And that was back there. So I got to looking at it one day when I was working on a bike and noticed that the front triple tree clamps and everything on the TS50 looked the same as it did on the TM125. And then I saw the little wheels on that. So if you click to the next one, I made this pit bike that had the
look at the
forks and shocks off the 125 and the fenders off of a bigger bike and the bigger handlebars. And called it our pit bike, and that was long before pit bikes were a thing. And,
So I'm going to just try to visualize, to paint a picture for those that are just listening. We're looking at what looks like half of a dirt bike with basically Honda Monkey wheels or CT70 wheels. Right?
Well, it was too small. Would have been the Z50 because that was a Trailhopper 50 Suzuki.
So it was a 10-inch.
Probably, yeah, 10-inch.
Oh my goodness!
And that thing just ran forever. I mean, we beat it to death. Everybody that came over had to ride it when we were, practicing with our other bikes. Somebody had to ride it, but it had stickers all over it. WEBN was a radio station here that were famous for their Labor Day weekend fireworks, and WEBN Frog is their, whatever you want to call it, mascot back in the day.
Yeah.
And they had a thing that had the WEBN Frog holding up a can of beer and kind of leaning back, and it said rock and roll with Hootapole. And I took the sticker and cut out just the outline of the frog and the Hootapole beer, and it was on the back fender. I'll have to find that next time. But all the cool stickers were on it and stuff.
Right, of course.
Everybody loved it when I brought it to the track, and asked questions about it. I still, to this day, I don't know what happened to it. It's just one of those deals where I don't know if it finally blew up and I junked it, or if I traded it to somebody, I don't know. But it was oil injected, and it had a rotary valve system in the side for the intake, the carburetor rotary valve. So I don't think I ever had the cylinder off of it. I might have had the head off of it checking it, but
right.
So it just ran forever.
Right. Rotary valve. So
rotary valve.
How was that? Like a cylinder instead of a reed valve?
So if you could imagine a CD on the right side of the motor that had a V-notch cut out of it. So when the motor rotated around, that was your intake when it came around, like a valve.
Gotcha. Yep.
And
yep.
Suzuki had them on some of their older bikes. I think the TC models, they might have had them, but Kawasaki was good with those. They had the little KE 100. Different KE models had the rotary valves on them.
Rotary valve.
Yeah.
I remember
it literally looked like a CD if you got it out and looked at it. Just a shiny silver thing. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Just some idle time sitting around with nothing to do. And your mind starts wandering and you start taking things apart and see what you can make.
Right? That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I was I only really, I guess, like the two strokes that I've worked on had reed blocks.
Right,
so,
reed valves.
Yeah. It's like reed valves. So.
Yeah.
Did the RDE 200 have reed valves?
Boy, I don't know if it did or not. I was going to tell you about that. My first bike when I was a professional motorcycle mechanic.
That's right.
Building new bikes and crates. Back in the back of the shop, outside, and I think even upside down, if I'm not mistaken, was an old 71 or 72 RD200. And I asked the owner what's going on with it. I said, well, the guy owes us, $125 and he never paid the bill.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, so, you want to pay the bill, you can have the bike. Because I guess it's been sitting for years. So it took forever I brought it in the shop and had it sitting there, and we tinkered with it a little bit. I think I ordered some rings and honed it out, cleaned the carbs and got it going. But he gave me a temporary tag, which was the same size as an automobile license plate, but it was paper.
Mm-hmm.
And so behind the shop was an industrial park. And the head mechanic there, Roby, treated me a little bit like he was a big brother and was giving me instructions. And, we got along great, same age as my brother. And I put on a helmet, put this temporary tag on, no motorcycle license, no insurance, and rode down half a block and went back. And then, if I'm not mistaken, it might have been equivalent to 2, maybe 3 city blocks, let's say, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was 18 at the time, and you just got to see what it's got to do. So I get this thing up to about 92 miles an hour across this industrial park. And when I pull in, he screamed at me for about 30 minutes that, what on earth was I thinking I was doing? Old tires, dry rotted, everything, old chain. I just had to see what it could do, never even broke into rings. I just, young kid, took off. But I put some of those goofy cafe bars that are the upside down.
Oh, yeah, the Clubmans.
Clubmans, yeah. I put that on there because I get been down in that position at 18 years old. It didn't bother me. I was trying to figure out, could I find a fairing for it? What we thought was cafe bikes back then.
Right.
And so it was really fast for a 200. I mean, I was really surprised.
I was going to say 92 miles an hour for a 200 is pretty fast.
Yeah. It never did it again after that. I might have got it to 85, but I don't know what the deal was. But
right.
So
forgot to hook in the oil injection.
Yeah. It's almost like the 450 Nighthawk that you and I traded and Matt back and forth. And nobody ever really legally put it on the road.
Yeah.
So I was riding it. I quit the job there at the Yamaha shop, got this factory job. And I lived about a mile from the house. And I come riding it home, and here they've got a roadblock, and they're checking insurance and licenses. And it's like 100 feet before the turn into my neighborhood. And I almost thought, well, I've outrun these guys on a dirt bike. Could I just turn around and outrun them on a street bike? So the look on the Boone County officer's face when I said, I don't have a license, I don't have insurance. Where's your registration? It's a temporary tag. We're working on that, So I got several tickets out of the deal, and he said, push it home. So I pushed it around the corner until I felt like he was out of ear distance and started up road it the rest of the way. But I ended up getting insurance, getting the title straightened out, getting my license. Then I went to the court date and paid the fine. So I had more money in fines than I did in the bike.
Oh, my goodness.
And I traded a guy a 64 Falcon Futura that just a little Ford Falcon.
Oh, yeah.
And because I had a Comet that was an ugly sedan, and I had to have this Falcon and switched everything on. But anyway, he got the bike. He rode it to test ride it. And when he test rode it, he got pulled over. He got a ticket for no license and no insurance. So he's already in the hole and says, I want the bike. Yeah. So he trades it down the road. He trades it to his brother. His brother rides it, rode it for, I don't know, less than a month. Somebody pulled out in front of him. He T-boned him and flew off the bike. And when he woke up, he was knocked out. The bike was in flames in the middle of the intersection.
Oh, no.
And I'm just like, that bike was never designed to be ridden. It should have just been buried right there at the shop.
Right.
Yeah.
You had to resurrect it.
Yeah. I had a guy worked at a Ford dealership in the auto body, and he did this incredible paint job for me. I mean, it was top of the line. It was embarrassing with how good the paint job looked on the rest of this raggedy bike. But, I had the baffles out of it. So when you'd slow down and bappity, going up the road, I mean, it sounded great. I think I got caught in the rain and my temporary tag blew off because it got wet. So
you got
I
soaked.
rode 30 minutes to get home with no tags. I was a nervous wreck. So, but
that's funny.
Crazy. Yeah. The guy at the dealership, he went to high school with my brother, but they might have known each other, but they weren't close or whatever. But he always talked about his Triumphs and his Norton Commandos, and everything was back in the day, and
oh yeah,
it's so funny. He would have been 30 years old, and I thought he was so old, hearing stories. But he would go to field meets with these Harley riders, and they would do trick riding in the fields. And the one thing was, I think they have it now, they'll have the fire roads, just the 2 dirt lanes with a hump in the middle, and they'll drag race with these big baggers hitting each other's handlebars. So they would do that. And then they had the slow race to see who could go the slowest. And he was pretty good at that. But he would talk about these tricks called the B-52 and the dying cockroach. And it was all about riding. And the B-52 was putting your arms out and laying straight back on the bike and just balancing it going down. And then the dying cockroach was his arms and his legs going back and forth while he was riding it. I'm like, this doesn't sound like any kind of skill, and I would tease him about it. So he gets this brand new bike out to test ride it. He put one together, and it might have been a DT250 or a DT400. And he's riding. He goes, you know what? If I had this back in the day, I could probably trick ride this thing. And he reaches down, and as he comes around, we're screaming, dying cockroach, B-52, just to, it was me and another guy. And the back parking lot was gravel. And he cranks up the idle a little bit, turns around and comes back. And I think he did one kick, and the bike fell over, scraped up his elbow and his knee.
Brand new motorcycle.
Yeah, tore up the grip and the lever and the mirror. And the boss was at lunch, and he's panicking, thinking he's going to lose his job. And we rushed up to the parts bin and grabbed new parts and have it all switched out before the boss gets back. Well, that was the riot.
Dude,
pretty cool.
Do the dying cockroach.
Yeah.
Stew.
That's right.
Oh, that's funny. DTs.
Yeah. The good old days.
The good old days. I wasn't around for that. But I hear about it all the time.
Yeah. That's right. Well, what else you got planned in the future to work on? Anything new?
So no, I mean, I've got to finish up the GS 1000. It's sitting. I did the front brakes. I put stainless lines on, rebuilt the calipers, put new pads on, resprung the front, and put new fork seals in, and we're good. I'm to go there, but now I've got to play with a dead starting relay and the indicators. The whole harness is all screwed up. So I've got to basically re-engineer the harness for the indicators, which I don't think will be too hard, but it's a project that I have yet to complete. And I got the tags for it. I sent the tags in. It's funny because with the DMV in Vermont, so I had put an appointment in. This was like a test. Okay. So I just,
you're still doing appointments?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't go to this office unless you have an appointment. So I did a test. So I set an appointment for the Goldwing, which I'm going to go in and do all the just give me 1 second. Zola, stop. My dog's scratching herself too and making noise. So they do appointments. So I got an appointment for the Goldwing to get a tag. And then I got the Honda Accord hybrid that I put together, and I sent tags in. I'm like, what's going to beat what? I just got the license plates for the Honda back. And usually when you register a new car like that and they go by your assessment and your value and your taxes, they always buck at it at the DMV office. But if you send it in, they don't ask any questions. They just cash your check and send you license plates. So I think you're just going to start doing that from now on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the other thing I got to do is get actual plates, because I'm running a temp registration paper plate on the Goldwing right now. So when it rains, it gets wet and does the dance, does the temporary tag dance.
Yeah. I'm still comparing Vermont to Kentucky, but everybody complains about the tangible tax down here. I forgot what they call it, PVA or something, personal value attack, property value, whatever. So if you're driving a new car, you have to pay a tax on the value of that car every year when you get your tax. the property taxes are really cheap here, but if you drive a really nice car, it's going to cost you something.
Right.
So,
yep.
But to renew your tags is, I don't know, $20 or $30 here. And so, the old white van I've got with the dent, and it's got the brown detail of Vermont all along the bottom edge and underneath.
Oh, yeah.
With the rust.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's no inspections here. So, if it's on 3 wheels, they'll let you drive it up the road around here. They don't care. So this thing is like a 2004 Chevy Express. I get my paperwork in the other day. They put a value of $6,000 on this van. And I called the lady up. Rather than getting mad, I'm just laughing. I'm like, where did this come from? I said, are you trying to put a pandemic value of my van? Well, that's what the book says, So I give her the mileage and tell her some stuff. And she, bless her heart, she took it down to $4,600. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It was pennies. It was pennies on the tax between
right.
the two. But
right.
I was laughing.
You saved like $15.
Oh, yeah. So
yeah,
it's still cheaper, even with the tax. It's cheaper here than up there, but if we don't have an inspection either, so that saves you $60-$70
or more, because the thing is, it's like if your car is not going to pass inspection or your motorcycle is not going to pass inspection, you have to drop money into your bike. And it's silly because like for me, a tire that it's at the wear mark, but you can still get another 1,000 miles out of it. You got to replace it if you're going in for inspection. So you can always just carve out
special place. I'll tell you offline the special place that Bob goes that says, that looks good. Just hit the blinkers there. Oh, yeah, you're good. It's got some lights. You're done.
Let me know. Yeah. So, the last thing I wanted to talk about was we did have the Jedz stock. It was...
that's right.
Yeah, it was like 12, 13. There was 13 people on the busiest night. So it was...
Right.
We got the hardcore guys that came up from Massachusetts and Connecticut, New Hampshire, New York. Special case Steve came, which was nice to see him, and Jethro, and Skip, Brian. But it was fun. We had a lot of fun just hanging out, riding around. I didn't ride as much as I wanted to. May have got a little too much into the whiskey, but that's okay.
Yeah,
but I learned my.
I say I learned my whiskey throttle.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't do that.
No.
So I just lay low. But it was fun.
Wow, that's cool. I wish I was there.
It would have been fun.
Good memories. Yeah, when I saw the whatever you want to call it,
the pavilion.
Pavilion, yeah, it just brought back good memories from the wedding, and thought, man, that place is cool.
Yeah, it was right on top of the mountain. It was awesome. We had great weather. It was torrential downpour the day where I needed to get ready. So I couldn't get ready till the day I had to leave. So it was kind of high stress to get there and set up, but it was good. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Way more food than I got enough food for 2 barbecues for 25 plus people. And so every night was a barbecue. So burgers and dogs and salad for everybody.
Wow, that's great.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun. So big shout out to, all my buddies that came, Special Case, Steve and Skip and Jeff and, Scotty Barker, who was a friend of mine who rides that yellow Goldwing that I borrowed. So,
right.
And I got
I got to reach out to Special Case and see if he did anything with that Honda Ascot I gave him. I was curious if he ever did anything with it.
It's funny. He asked me, he's like, do you want it? I'm like, bro, I don't have time for more projects. Like, I really want an Ascot. It'd be super cool to have an Ascot, but I have no time to work on anything.
Well, Bob's pretty upset because all of his buddies are moving, and they seem to be moving to North Carolina and Tennessee and Kentucky. And now his other good buddy he rides with is moving to Indiana, and he's got a really nice Ascot. It's the 500. Is it the VT? Because it's the V cylinder. It's not the single like I had, the FT. Yeah, it's a VT.
Yeah, VT.
And he says that he's wanting to get rid of it possibly because he wants to buy a bigger bike when he gets down here. So I'm not sure what he wants for it, but it's all original. It's in excellent shape, for the year and everything.
It's a 500.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the one you
It's
gave
a
Steve,
Honda.
right? Was it
Yeah.
single or a twin?
I'm trying to remember where I got that from.
I don't remember. I think you got it for like work or something, I want to say. Where the hell did you find that thing?
Yeah, I don't know. That is so crazy that I find this stuff and then I forget,
Yeah. Well, you find all sorts of stuff. That's the thing, is like you're just like the motorcycle.
Not down here, though. I haven't found anything down here yet. And there's a lot more barns down here. You'd think where I'm at that I'd find stuff. But.
Yeah. Well, maybe people are fixing stuff up and riding it. I don't know.
Yeah. I ran into a buddy that I used to ride with back in the 70s, more with his brother than him, and went down to visit him. And he said, well, let me show you my toys. And he opened the door, and he must have had 8 or 9 dirt bikes in there. And he's a couple years younger than me, and he's still racing. I almost cried, like, you can still do this?
Right.
So,
right.
But it was incredible. He has a nice place, and he had some KTM 300, MX bikes, and he had some older Kawasaki's and other 2-strokes. And his daughter rides. She's apparently really good. And they do vintage days and stuff and run vintage classes. But
that's cool.
Yeah, it was really neat to see.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's nice to like run into people that are like also big motorcycle fanatics. They don't really realize it until they like go, oh, look at my stuff. And it's like, oh boy.
Yeah, that's
like
right.
Kid in a candy shop,
Yeah. He did have an old Suzuki TS 185 in the corner that he was tearing apart to fix up. And I was like, oh boy, maybe I can get that off of him and finish that someday. And then I was reminded of all the projects I have here.
I was going to say, don't you have like a CT70 that like is still in pieces and on your shelf?
Yes, it's killing me.
So, yeah, I have.
Well,
go ahead.
September's coming up, and each year up there we would say, okay, what are we working on for a winter project?
Right.
I can't do anything.
Right.
And mine is still a house, and when that's done, I'll have plenty of things to work on
for your 2 weeks of winter.
Yeah. So it's just so funny. We're thinking of what needs to be done for the house before it gets cold, like staining boards outside rather than inside. But and I've got some attic work to do with insulation, and I don't want to go up there when it's 100 degrees. But it's funny that I wonder how I think about winter projects now with bikes compared to what I used to.
Right. Because it's like, I'm going to clean my shop so that I can roll something in that I need to work on,
Right.
Or, we'll see. This year I'm kind of half tempted to like keep my shop clear so that I can like use it as a personal space that I can just hang out with. And it's just not like I'm bumping my elbows on handlebars. So.
Well, I shout out to another guy that I follow is Brick House Builds. And I think he's in Missouri, something like that. And he built some really cool custom bikes. Your favorite, he's got some CX 500s from these projects and stuff that he's built. But what I like about it is you can see that it's like a single car garage. And he's got one lift in the middle, and he just works on one project at a time. And he's got a warehouse, a storage unit somewhere else where all of his stuff is stored. And he's shown a couple of videos, and the place is loaded with future projects,
right?
Plus customers' bikes that he's working on. He's got a nice big Sprinter van that he hauls things around for customers and his stuff. But he does some really cool, scramblers and cafes or whatever. But he's really good at what he does, his welding and his electrical work and detail and stuff like that. But I was kind of inspired because I'm thinking, how am I going to get all these bikes in my shop? It's like, I don't have to. Just leave them at the storage unit and just work on one at a time. And plus, you don't get distracted. If you've got 5 projects, you're like, what am I going to work on today?
Oh, yeah.
So you might think about that, just having one in there.
Right. Yeah, that's what I need to do is just have one. Not sure which one it will be, but
right.
I can't fit the Goldwing in there. I don't have French doors, so.
No, I was going to say you could cuss me every time you do that. So.
It's like that ain't gonna fit in. If I had French doors, it would fit in, John.
Yeah. Just say a few choice words in French door and then put John at the end of it.
Right.
It'll be all right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You can only fit the Bonneville in there, and maybe some of the smaller bikes. But I don't know. Like we'll see what my project list goes like. But I think this winter it's going to be probably less projects and more just me utilizing the space, doing the podcast and stuff like that in there. Be nice.
I don't know. You might be just reading baby books.
I don't know. I've done that. I've been doing that for like a year, and you think you stop, and then you're like, "Oh, I need to learn more." Why is she doing this?
Speaking of kids, when John Morgan was younger, he was still in his little bassinet. He was just able to, hold up over the edge of it. My father-in-law and I had an assembly business in the evening that we would put parts together for a company that I worked for. And we had a little VCR with a little 12-inch screen, and we would watch movies and build these parts. And Deb just would put Morgan in the playpen and say, if you're going to work, you're going to watch this kid too,
right.
And give her a break rather than me work all day and then do these parts. But he sat there and was fascinated watching us build these parts all the time. So maybe that's what you need to do is get the playpen out there and just, Well,
that's kind of why I wanted to have the space clean because, see, the thing is, like, I'm so busy, I will work on something and then just not clean up my mess. And then I'll work on something and not clean up my mess. As you know, you've seen my shop. I just kind of accumulate project after project. It's just like taking the time now to clean my projects. So now I can keep her in there and I can be like, okay, so we're going to work on an electrical system on this Honda CM200 that's sitting in my yard and I don't know what I'm going to do with. Like, who knows? So
maybe if you just throw an R&R in the playpen, let her play with that and get used to it.
Right. Yeah. She can just suck on the heat sinks. Yeah, that's
the bolts. The bolts need to be bigger than 17 millimeter and you'll be fine.
That's right.
She can't swallow that.
She can't swallow that. She might choke on it.
Throw some foam hand grips in there.
She does like the rubber hand grips. I will throw some of those her way. She's like,
yeah.
And she'll play with those. I'll get her trained. Yeah. She's usually pretty good, actually. Believe it or not, I can get about an hour worth of work done if she's in the stroller watching me. And then she's just like, I see you. I want you to hold me. And then that's basically it, which is fine because I like holding her. So.
If you just had Nuclear Mushroom playing in the background, you'd be fine. She would just go right to sleep. So.
Yeah, infected mushroom. Right. No. She does like the music, but
yeah.
Anyways. All right, so let's wrap this one up. You got anything you want to add to the end?
No, just try and come up with something this week to work on so I can talk about it instead of the good old days.
Right. Yeah, we got to figure out what we need to work on. I know let's see if I can get that GS in a good spot by our next podcast. So I'm going to try to get some riding in. I don't ride worth the flip anymore. So I am riding tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm riding. I take the Goldwing, so that thing's awesome. For stuff. So
cool.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, folks. If you like what you hear, subscribe to the YouTube channel or follow us on our podcast station. It's the MC Mechanics Podcast. You can find it at any place you find your podcasts at. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.